This is a special report from Fox 35 News, tracking the tropics.
Hey everybody, Fox 35 Storm Team Meteorologist Noah Bergen here. Thanks for checking out our video tropical update on our website, fox35orlando.com. Our streaming apps and platform, Fox Local, and on your phone, and then also our YouTube channel. Thank you to our YouTube audience. Don't forget to subscribe on our page, and we appreciate you watching here. So I hope you had a great day today. Let's get into it. By the way, welcome to August 1st of 2024. July 2024 in Central Florida went down as the hottest July on record. And now the attention turns to the tropics, and I have a feeling that this is going to be the beginning of a very busy spell for the next few months. All right, so the next big thing we've got our eyes on here is the tropics, clearly, and the potential for Debby to form in the Gulf this weekend. So here's the update as of late this evening. This is the tropical outlook. Now, this does not show the impact area. Want to make that crystal clear. So just because, say, Orlando not in this, that doesn't mean you're not getting anything. This is where the tropical system may form. That's what this graphic means. And there's a red area. You see that's high. Still officially at 70% from the folks at the National Hurricane Center. Development is likely this weekend. The track will mean and make all the difference in terms of the intensity, and we are watching this one pretty close. All right, so here's a couple of fast facts for you. We're still waiting for a center of circulation to form. Right now, the winds are not really going around a fixed point in the low levels of the atmosphere. I want you to think about having a dance floor with a DJ, putting the disco ball, back in my parents' age, because I'm very old souled and mannered, back in the days of disco and, dancing, going out to a ballroom or, line dancing, putting the DJ in the ball on the side of the stage. You can't fit everybody there, and everybody doesn't know where to go. It's just a whole disorganized mess. That's kind of what this is right now. It's not clear where the center is and where everything is going around that in the sense of a dance floor. And that's why the models are struggling, because none of them have any idea where the center is. We should get that tomorrow, Friday, which will help, hopefully, give some clarity to the data. So a tropical storm, I do think, is likely as a baseline, and the Gulf, should it spend a lot of time there, is very ripe for strengthening. Now, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis today did issue a state of emergency for a good part of the state well in advance of this system. The area in brighter red that we've got shaded here, that's our Fox 51 and 35 coverage counties, which you see does not include Putnam, but goes from Flagler down to Osceola, then back towards Dixie, Gilchrist counties in the western part of the state, and that's in effect immediately. All right, so more on potential Debby. Here's what we know as of right now. Sunday and Monday, we've declared Fox 35 weather impact days for Central Florida because we're confident there'll be some impact of rain, wind, and/or tornadoes. How significant? To be honest, I'm not really sure yet, but I think we'll get some level of all three of those things. Here's what we know. The timing is still very early Sunday through Tuesday of next week, and the impacts could linger if this system slows or stalls. The intensity, big question. And notice the banner change. This is what we don't know now. Does this thing remain at tropical storm strength? I think it should get to tropical storm strength. There's a small chance, I guess, it stays as a depression. But the most likely scenario is at least tropical storm. Does it stay at that level, or does it take full advantage of the Gulf waters and become a hurricane? That is possible, too. We don't know which yet. The track, don't know that yet either. Does it come in near Tampa, then go across to Orlando? That means a lot more impact to Disney World, Universal, SeaWorld, Orlando, the theme parks, the Space Coast. Or does this thing go up towards the Big Bend in the Panhandle and then meander somewhere along I-10? And other than maybe a few severe storms, the Orlando area doesn't see much, and not really the Tampa area either, and it's all North Florida that gets impacted by this. All that said, here is the Weather Prediction Center, WPC. They're a branch of NOAA, just like the National Weather Service. They only do precip forecasting. This is all these people do. Just like the Hurricane Center, all they do is hurricanes, and the Storm Prediction Center, all they do is tornadoes. They live, eat, breathe, and sleep tornadoes. These people just do rain. That's all they do. They forecast rain, and they're pretty good at it most of the time. This is their rain forecast as of tonight through the next week. And they've got a bullseye of 10 inches here. You see in that brightest color, and probably about, I'd say that's 8 to 10 in this lighter purple, and then 6 to 10 in the red, and then 5 in the orange, and then 3 to 5 in the yellow. but you get the idea that it's going to be based on the track, and I want to make that clear. This can shift east or west based on where the center goes. If anything, I'd say this may trend a little bit further south, but we will see. So again, we've had the first 3 named storms. That leaves Debby up next for this year. All right, let's talk about it right now. So here it is, about 900 or so miles, the center south of central Florida. Now tonight, if you look at this, it's a little bit better. The last few days, there's really been nothing, nada to show. There's actually thunderstorms out there. And if you look, notice where there's black, right here, right here. When you start seeing black and then eventually white and pink, that's the top end of the color bar indicating very intense, deep convection, very tall thunderstorms going up in the atmosphere. There's a big cluster of convection here, a big cluster of convection here. But if you kind of look, I may have to get out of the way so you can see. I'm going to get out of the way actually so you can see. I want you to look how broadly there's a little bit of this here, a little bit of this here, a little bit of this here, and watch, you can see there is, in the very vague broad sense, the beginnings of a mid-level circulation. Mid-level meaning somewhere in about the 10 to 20,000 foot range. But there's no low-level center where at the ocean surface, if you stood on a boat and looked around you, that's where the winds would be blowing around a certain point. There is none of that yet. Now the question tomorrow is, does that low-level center form north of Cuba or south of Cuba? Right now, the guidance is, again, all over the place on that. But there is your tropical wave. Big thunderstorms here, big thunderstorms here, and it's getting its act together. But the other thing is, regardless, once it gets past Cuba, regardless of which side it goes, it will be greeted to very hot ocean temperatures and an extreme amount of ocean heat content for tropical formation. So once it gets past Cuba, it should fire a bunch of convection and really start to organize pretty quick. Water temperatures are above 80. In fact, they're in the upper 80s through most of the eastern Gulf and on either side of Florida. So here's the spaghetti models as of tonight. I want you to notice, and actually these just updated. This is brand new late this evening from the computer guidance. And I want you to notice that they've come together a little bit, but there's still a big disparity. Here's what I mean. Notice how these lines here, focus on my hand. There's a few of them that come in about Lakewood Ranch, Sarasota, Bradenton area, and then cut across, actually, interestingly, right over I-4, right over Walt Disney World, up to Orlando, maybe about like, not quite New Smyrna Beach, off the Space Coast, and then go out over here. That scenario where it comes in right here would probably mean a tropical storm because it wouldn't have enough time between here and here to strengthen. The ones that are out here that come in up here closer to Cedar Key area, that probably would mean a stronger tropical storm or even a hurricane, possibly even a more organized hurricane because the water here is extremely ripe. But again, does it come like this? Does it go out over here? That's all going to be tied to Friday. Where does the low-level center form? And this has gone back and forth a gazillion times, and to be honest, probably will again tomorrow. Nobody knows. My best guess is that this is going to shift a little bit back north, and I would say the center will come in somewhere in the Big Bend area. We saw this with Ian. Remember with Hurricane Ian, if you watched any local weather report in the state of Florida before Hurricane Ian, it was up here, then it was here, then it was here, then it was here, then it was back here, and then it ended up being in Fort Myers. 3 days, 4 days out, hardly ever is it correct. So using that just knowledge, this is going to move again, is the point. It would be pretty unusual for the spaghetti models to be spot on from 4 days in advance. All right, so why is this thing going to meander and sit? Well, there's an area of high pressure over the west, area of high pressure over the east, trough over New England. So as this comes across, regardless what path over Cuba, all the steering flow up aloft is gone. And in fact, this red is like an atmospheric roadblock. The jet stream is way up here. There's nothing to lift it north or move it. So it wouldn't shock me if this does a loop over Florida, does a loop over the Carolinas. So I want to make this also clear. Any interest in southern Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, you should keep close tabs at this, especially if you have vacation plans, travel plans, or you just live there. This is not just a Florida storm. at some point later next week, it will eventually get picked up by the jet stream, no matter how long it sits here. At some point, it will get thrown north, and at that point, it could impact the Carolinas, and it could even re-strengthen off the coast of the Carolinas should it skirt across Florida and find itself here. The water there is equally as warm, too. So this is going to be a multi-area system to watch. A couple of fast, more quick things. This is the probability of where the center may track using a blend of about 50 models. Notice that the most likely scenario is up into the Big Bend area, but still, there's a large area to watch. So the 80+% likelihood tonight is the center comes in of whatever this is, somewhere about there, but there's a big spread. So I'm going to show you our Fox model. Now, the interesting thing about the Fox model is tomorrow into Saturday, it develops the center of the low south of Cuba. That would mean a much further west track eventually in a much stronger system, because if the center forms south of Cuba, it's going to get thrown naturally more further west from Florida, spend more time over the hot water, strengthen more, become a bigger system. So that's really the key is tomorrow, because you see what that does becomes a decent storm, and eventually it comes in. Now, this is just a model. This is not a forecast. But the idea here is where and how long does it spend time over the water? But it's somewhere in Florida this thing is going to come in late Sunday into Monday. Here's the GFS model, which notice, again, the track. You can see the track, right? Follow the rain corridor. The GFS brings the system off of Cuba and right in by Fort Myers across the I-4 corridor, then up to the Carolinas. You see, that's where the swath of rain is, and there's hardly anything in the Big Bend. The European model is a little bit further north. Notice you can kind of follow the center here, goes up by Gainesville, then Jacksonville, then impacts the Carolinas. So that's why there still is a big range of where the center may go. But the bottom line here is you want to keep following the forecast. We should know much more on Friday based on where the center starts to form north or south of Cuba. South of Cuba probably means further west in the Gulf, more time over the water, stronger system, bigger overall impact. A formation north of Cuba tomorrow probably means still very impactful system for the state of Florida, but probably not getting that strong, but just being a huge rainmaker and some brief tornadoes Sunday, Monday to Tuesday across the peninsula. Regardless, it's a big rainmaker. Whether it's an extreme rainmaker or just a big rainmaker depends on, again, the track and therefore the intensity. So stay tuned here. We'll have much more for you, the entire Fox 35 Storm team over the next few days. For those of you watching here on our YouTube channel, thank you. Don't forget to subscribe.